Hi, everyone. So welcome to this Medicus webinar. I'm sharing my screen just to check that's fine and everyone can see that. Perfect. Okay, great. So this webinar is going to be on using online consultations for clinical triage, using Medicus specifically. So I'll just give a quick introduction about Medicus before handing over to our guest speakers today. So this is Dr. Ahmed from Wilmslow Health Centre and Dr. Dave from Whitley and Milford Surgery. So these were two of the first EMIS practices to move to Medicus. Wilmslow earlier in May this year, and then Whitley in August. Two large, busy practices who operate a total triage model led by Amar and Dave. So these are leading experts in the field of online consultations and clinical triage. So it's really great to hear from them on this. So before I hand over, I'm just going to do a quick overview of Medicus, conscious some of the people on this call might not be aware. So I'll just move on. So who's Medicus? So we are a new NHS primary care system. So the first one in 25 years. We're part of the NHS Tech Innovation Framework. So this was designed to help modernise tech and innovation within primary care. We're now fully assured and live in multiple practices across the country. And this is a little bit what it looks like. So it's not too different from other clinical systems. So essentially, it does everything that a clinical system needs to do, prescribing by EPS, ERS, document management, communicating with patients, managing long-term conditions, all of that, but essentially just in one integrated system. So it just means there's less add-on systems, more of a seamless experience, and integrating all of the workflows that you need to do day to day. So it's a next generation clinical system. So what we mean by that is it's fully web-based, modern and built on new tech and architecture, designed to help deliver modern GP practices without the need for additional things like add-on systems. And when we talk about next generation, we just mean there isn't really like a unique selling point. It's just multiple small improvements to all of your workflows across the day, leading to faster workflows, more time to just focus on the things you need to focus on in practice, like the care of patients. So usually you would have multiple systems to use for different add-ons. So things like appointment booking, scheduling, calling boards, SMS messaging, online consultations. But within Medicus, we've just brought it all into one integrated system. And I'll just run quickly through some of these now. So things like document management, so incoming from the post, mesh, NHS mail, these are all automatically matched to patients and then sent to the relevant people within the practice to action. Patient communication, so things like sending out emails or SMS to patients and then recording that communication back to the patient record. Our referrals process, so we've got a fully integrated referrals workflow, and this all links to the right service and pre-populated template, and these are sent straight off either to ERS or a local service by email. Tasks and workflows, so you can see all of your personal or team tasks directly from the homepage, and you can also have an organization-wide view as well to monitor them from there. Investigation and results, so any requesting to your local order comms providers and then receiving your investigation results all back into the same place. Long-term condition management, so real-time QoF, local enhanced services and recall data. Scheduling appointments, so things like fully flexible staff schedules, online booking, and we've also got our integrated call-in board and check-in kiosk functionality as well. And then finally, online consultations. So that's what we're going to focus today's session on. So medical and admin requests flowing directly into your workflow. These can be submitted either from the patient portal, but also directly from within Medicus as well, if anything needs submitting on behalf of the patient. So I'm going to hand over to our guest speakers now. So Amar and Dave have kindly agreed to run a live demo of the online consultation functionality in Medicus. So this is going to be done in our test system, running through some day-to-day common scenarios that they see running a busy total triage practice. We'll leave some time at the end for question and answers. So if anything does come up or any thoughts during that time, we'll leave some time at the end for some questions. And also just to say, there is some further resources on Medicus here as well. So things like product demo videos, link to our website. You can always contact us from the form on our website as well. And also the Medicus Help Centre, which just has some useful guides and tools as well to see. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now and hand across to Dave and Amar.
Dave, do you want to get the sharing going? I'll just quickly introduce myself, hand over to you. So I'm Dr. Ahmed. I'm a GP partner here for the past 25 years. First thing to note as well, because we do get this asked quite a lot, is do Dave and I have any conflicts of interest here? No, we're not paid by anyone to do this. We are just jobbing GPs who've been doing this far too long, and we just want a better system for our patients and actually for our staff. So that's why we're doing it, and that's one of the reasons, well, certainly the reason that we moved towards Medicus to get to a system that really meets the standards of the kind of NHS that we're working in and the pressures that we're facing. So Dave's going to share his screen, and we're going to run through a few things together. But yeah, Dave and I also work quite hard on total triage. We were one of the first practices to do total triage, and in fact, Dave, you've shared loads of resources online with various other systems to facilitate the process of total triage, so we know what kind of system was required. And actually Medicus, you'll hear this time and time again, a really responsive team. They listen to you, they'll spend time with you, and they've kind of built the system around real life general practice. Over to you, Dave.
Great, thanks very much. So I've just realised I'm drinking from a pint glass. I'm not actually having a pint, it is just squash. So if anyone's wondering if it's been so terrible with Medicus that I've taken to alcohol, it's not true. So we're just going to do a little tour around the front end of this first, then go into some of the triage submissions. Just for context, these are just to demo features within here and give you an idea of how this works. So don't critique me on my clinical care if that's okay, because we might be taking some shortcuts just to show you. So the front end lives around the homepage. So here you have a day view of what you've been up to. So your appointments immediately visible, and you have an overview of the practice that you can filter in and out of. The nice thing about it is, depending on your visual acuity, you can actually change the size of this fairly easily. So I have set it for bigger than normal, just so you've got it available to you. So it's not that I need very big reading specs, it's just so that you guys can see it. So within here, you've also got a reminder of things that you've not done. So consultations where you might have done a draft of it, you've not got finished. So it's got a really nice, everything that you need to know about what happens in your working day. On the left-hand side is a reducible taskbar, so enabling to find patients, chat to your team, modules, which we won't cover today, but they're the sort of back end of this. And then finally, teams and stuff. So within here, we've got appointments, which we're in, my tasks, which are things for me to do personally, and then the teams that you may or may not be in. So for the purpose of this, we're in a triage team. So we're going to be looking at the inbound medical requests. So in terms of how the patients submit this, it's through the web page. So one of the big advantages of Medicus as an all-in-one system is that there is patient confirmation before they can submit, i.e. they have to enter their correct demographics. And because it is a secure multi-factor authentication for things like medication requests, it does actually populate their own medications from there, so they don't have to enter free text within boxes and you have to guess what the blue pill is. It will literally be as if they were doing it through patient access or similar, a checkbox that they can tick, and then it comes in as a prescription request, which you can directly action. So I cover those quickly because we're going to concentrate on the clinical requests today. So clicking on anything in Medicus enables you to load up the web page quickly. So I'm going to minimize the left just so we've got a bit more real estate. So a quick overview. So we've got the clinical requests in the center here. On the right-hand side is how you look through stuff in detail. So if you wish to have free text search, you can. I know that's a feature many of us were asking from another online consulting provider for some time, but never got it. You can look through the priorities of these. So these are things that either your team have deemed high priority or you have, and you can actually filter out for various statuses of messages. So whether things are new, whether they've got a response that's been replied to, or you've got a reply, waiting for a reply, or you've got a reply back. So we're just going to have a little look through each individual screen, and I'll talk you through what this looks like in Medicus generally. So with our first one, we're going to bring, these are all dummy patients, by the way, so don't worry, we're not about to delve into anyone's medical history. So you might notice one major difference from things that you're used to at the moment, which is on the right-hand side, we actually have a split screen. So this is ubiquitous across Medicus. So on the left-hand side is essentially the view that you're in at the moment for whichever module. On the right-hand side is the entire EPR. So as an experienced triager, this is one of the major factors that drove me towards Medicus, because it was incredibly difficult at times trying to discern who'd ordered what, who'd said what had been happening to a patient, and similar. So for Miss Conley, who's our first dummy submission today, so the initial request, and I'm just reading it so that people don't have to squint at their screen. I've noticed my repeat for my Referral says review before renewal. I've been on it for years and it's running out soon. Can you check if I need bloods or anything before I order again? So on the right-hand side as a default is the clinical summary. And indeed, she is on Ramipril 5 milligrams. So you can see all the medications they're on, any acute prescriptions, consultations and with whom, when you last saw them, documents view, shared care records, results and key observations. So actually for this one, I immediately want to see what have her results been. And we can see that, in fact, this was some time ago. So the last result was in 2009. So immediately something that would cause me at least several minutes of headache, and I'm going at a slower pace than I would do in real life, obviously, so we can talk through this. I can work out, yeah, this person does indeed need some monitoring. So now having established that, normally what you'd have to do is go back and forth between the clinical system, back and forth between the online system to organize all of this. So in fact, actually, we can do it all from one screen. So any action that you can take in the EPR in a consultation, you can take in other bits. So there's essentially two buttons that will be your friends if you're working in Medicus, a / for actions for the coding geeks amongst us, we like that, and a full stop to actually do some clinical codes if you want to enter SNOMED codes. So / gives you access to all bits of the EPR. So whether or not that's looking for, entering an allergy, communicating with the patient, generating a document, fit notes, immunizations, medications, etc., which we'll go through as we go through the examples. So for this one, you can actually order an investigation request from within it. There's a slight pause that you don't get in the real system here because it's trying to connect to ICE. This is a dummy system, it doesn't have it. So we're just going to record some manually requested investigations. So let's say we're going to do use an EASE and a CRP and an HbA1c and all the normal stuff that we do for blood counts, etc. You can code in things in there. So this is obviously not ICE, but ICE does work directly with Medicus. The investigation request just goes in, and then we can simply communicate to the patient and say, and excuse my typing, I'm not going to dictate because it will sound a bit odd. Thanks very much. You are due a blood test. Please book in at the local phlebotomy service. Now, within here, this is a direct message to the patient. You have got options to use templated messages, insert questionnaires to gain further information, and importantly, add a booking link. So let's say, for example, we did actually have a phlebotomy service within the surgery. We pick the service that we're going to provide. So I'm just going to make up one for the sake of the example today. So a GP consultation. Obviously, we want them to book into a phlebotomy appointment, but just pretend for this purpose. And you can also put lovely is why are they having that appointment? So I know that all of us love to have the medical mystery tool back through a clinical record to work out why someone's in front of us, but all of these things are cumulative gains that make life somewhat easier. So actually we want ACE monitoring so people know what they're coming in for. The link is added. It goes off to the patient, and you can do various things here, which we'll demo as we go through, attaching files, attaching things from records, sending it as sensitive. So when this goes out to a patient, it's actually something that they would need to do some authentication with their date of birth so they could see a message. Clearly, you don't want sensitive results being populated on a pop-up as someone's broadcasting on their iPad. And you could actually choose, does it go via email or text message? So for the most, we generally will send things through email where it's not a time constraint. And then we can actually add codes as we like. So, so blood test due, because one of my favorite things within online platforms and EPRs is the fact that no one ever codes anything because they're operating in the online system largely, and then lots of information goes begging. So from something that appreciate I've somewhat waxed lyrical on this would have been several minutes of action. In fact, this is probably 20 to 30 seconds of clinical time. That goes off to the patient. They can book directly in. It's all recorded within the medical notes. And now we can set that as resolved. And the interaction's done. So taking you back to the screen. So if we just have a look at that patient where we were just in, so opening up their clinical history, going into journal, the journals where all of the clinical records are stored, we can actually see the whole event here. You'll notice it's not multiple different entries because it's all been dealt with within the EPR. So we don't have one entry saying this is the patient request. We don't have a message back from us as a separate entry. It's all one entity. And we can also go through and see exactly what's been done and clicking on individual messages if you want a more detailed audit trail. So it's a significant improvement in terms of both visibility and speed and makes life considerably easier for all of us. But that was a relatively straightforward example. So what other things might we want to do where you do the more conventional day-to-day work? So let's have a look at Maggie, who's 63. So Maggie, who's 63, has said that she's burning when she pees yesterday. It would lead to go all the time and a bit of some tummy pain. So some of the things that I might like to do at this point, if I was extrapolating out what's a fairly straightforward problem, is actually check and see have they had UTIs recently. So opening up their journal on the right-hand side, I can do a free text search and look back and see within recent history, has there been any UTIs that have been coded in here or indeed otherwise mentioned. So we can't see any recurrent things here. It's just highlighting a bit of text which happens to randomly have UTI within there. So it looks like this isn't someone who's having recurrent UTIs. So again, this is a lovely safety point. Whereas when people are operating in an online standalone platform, things like recurrent UTIs that actually for other reasons may sometimes go missing because people don't always have the time to look in the clinical record. Now, being a modern GP and wanting to make the best use of my time, I don't necessarily want to actually pick up the phone and go through all the questions that I might do. So I'm actually going to insert a questionnaire. So in the live system, we've got many, many more of these, but for the demo, we've kept it quite short. So you can see that these are questionnaires that come with Medicus. You don't need to get a third-party subscription. So we're going to use the UTI assessment. That goes into the patient message. You can obviously populate it with any free text or templated intro that you like there. So something like, thank you very much for your question. Please could you answer a few questions, etc. So if you wanted something a bit more quick than an email, because not everyone may monitor that, you can change it to a text message, send it off, and you can put in codes so that this starts to get logged in the medical record. So actually, I want you to lower urinary tract symptoms. We've not established anything yet. And off we go with the send, and it goes off to the patient. So in Blue Peter style, here's one I prepared earlier, which is what a response would look like. So this would normally populate within the screen that we've just seen there. But for the purposes of speed and Sophie not having to fumble her phone right in the middle of a demo, we've done one back. So actually, UTI with the standard questions, are you experiencing pain, burning sensation, etc., etc., and you can review that, and it would go back into the medical records. So we're just going to dive back in now. We've seen what that looks like. So this is a different patient. So it's not the one we were just dealing with. It's just for demo. And let's assume that that's come back in, and I'm satisfied that indeed she does. have a urinary tract infection. So at this point, I'd normally be waiting for an EPR to load up slowly beside me. But in fact, actually, the prescribing module is available within Medicus, noticing that it's got all the current allergies populated there already. So you're not going to accidentally prescribe something that are allergic to because you're bouncing between systems. We're going to select nitrofurantoin, and she's 63, so she can have 3 days. Going to issue 6, and you'll notice on the right, it's got all the safety alerts popping up there. And you can set individual instructions for dispensers and so forth. The really great bit, which makes life considerably easier, as you go to authorize, and I'm just going to say this is obviously a non-EPS linked system because it's a demo. When you do prescribe that, and it's not going to let me do it because I need a smart card linked to it, but you actually send a communication to the patient. So this goes out automatically with all prescriptions. You can uncheck it and not send it. But the message here is your prescription has been sent to Little Paxton Pharmacy, which is her nominated pharmacy. My favorite thing in the world is the inevitable message back from patients saying, where have you sent my prescription? And this cuts that off at the knee completely. Happily, it also says this message does not mean your prescription is ready to collect, and you should check with them for usual processing times, cutting off another current common patient question at triage. And they also get a copy of it attached with them. So if this was a live system with EPS, I'd have a little issue button here, whiz, it goes off, patient has it confirmed, and let's assume that I'm actually feeling generous. Want to say to the patient, thanks very much, insert my message, that would also be coded here. And then at the end of it, I do actually want to code that they've got a suspected UTI, so that should she come back in a week or so, someone else who might be looking at the medical record would have a SNOMED code there saying that today I suspected there was a UTI, but actually if it's happening recurrently, we might need to consider other causes. So if you think about how many steps that would be across multiple systems normally, we've actually all just resolved it without going out of the screen, excepting for our demo of what does that look like in terms of the questionnaire response. So we've got all sorts of interesting examples to show. So I'm not going to go through all 19, don't worry. There is death by PowerPoint in other sessions if you wish to join it.
Show them the fit note.
Yeah, so let's have a little look at Mr. Twig. So this is actually a submission which is about coughing, but for the purposes of this, we're going to ignore that and say that this person's wanted a fit note. So going through some of the common scenarios that we get, again, normally into the EPR, out of the EPR, attach it into a clinical record, but actually that's just a standard action within the triage section. So fit notes can get generated here. So we're going to have as a new one generated by Dr. Dunn. Thank you, Dr. Dunn. You can enter coded conditions here. So let's just say that I'm feeling exceptionally kind and they're going to get a fit note for a cough. So that can be free text if you wish. Obviously, the normal fit note actions, setting the number of weeks that are going to be off. So let's say that they don't have a very strong constitution, need 3 weeks off. And what you'll notice here is, in fact, at the bottom, it's sent to the patient directly. So as you save and send it, so this will send because it's not EPS linked, that goes to the patient directly. So if this was, in fact, a fit note request, the patient will know that you've done it because they've got the fit note and they've actually got all of that as a recorded consultation. And then you can just close it and resolve it and move quickly through. If you think about how the interoperability for all of these things works, one of the points that we hit in terms of an efficiency block was that you rely on these things talking to each other through third-party mechanisms and APIs. So there is a rate limit to how quickly you can go through these things. So for simple things like a fit note, which is seconds of work, actually that can take minutes and minutes, and minutes add up, particularly after the 1st of October. Thank you very much for that, Secretary of State.
And we're zipping through these, aren't we? People say, oh, this is a demo site. Actually, the live sites, ours has got 17,000 patients on it. It zips along. There's no circles of doom. There's no other horrible proprietary APIs to look into. And I think, it's well known that that is a problem elsewhere in the industry. It just works. It's quick. It's easy. And that in itself is saving me. Actually, I've worked out about 45 minutes a day per clinician. So, it's substantial. So what you're seeing zipping along right now is what you get.
Yeah, so this is, although it is the staging site, the functionality is exactly the same apart from PDFs. So, the speed that you're seeing is what we get in a live system. So one of my other favourite triage problems is when someone says that they've had a letter that's come into the practice, and normally I'd be opening up window 3 or 4 of what I'd have open on that day. There's a slow work through to try and work it out. So this is a submission that said, I saw a private cardiologist, and let's pretend I'm not going to go down the point of batting back private so NHS transfers of work, and I'm actually going to do this and be nice. I saw Dr Patel at Spire Guildford on the 15th. Letter sent to GP. I think, well, actually, because we've got this right-hand side here where we can access the whole clinical record, we can go into the journal, simply filter out by documents and see, is it there? And in fact, it is. So clinical letter from cardiology at Spire Guildford. So you'll remember normally at this point, we'd be trying to open up another window in another system to look at this, but no need. So in fact, actually, the document opens up as a window within the EPR. So all the documents processing is handled internally, including the coding. Thank you, Dr. Triska, for referring Mr. Reynolds. I've recommended you to go a transthoracic echocardiogram and subsequent NHS cardiology review. Well, I think that could probably be a referral direct to cardiology. So once we've finished with that, what I'm actually going to do is generate a referral directly from within the online triage platform. So with the action button, referral comes up. And we're going to show you one of the cool features in here, which is shortcuts for ERS. So ERS, we all love, honest, but actually we don't have to go through the platform that you've been experienced previously. I'm actually going to, although that is lovely, but because this is a demo system, we don't have the live ERS platform on it. But what we do have is the shortcutted practice bespoke quick referral pathway. So if you have a service in your region that you refer to constantly, be that in the community that might need to go by email, be that on ERS, so for example, local cardiology clinic, you can have it pre-populated here. So I'm going to select cardiology and chest pain now. And you'll notice it's linked through to my local cardiology service at the Royal Surrey. Clicking there opens up the referral box. So just triple checking, it is me as Dr. Dunn who's referring today. I'm coding it as a referral to cardiology service. And yeah, I probably would like to add an attachment now. So what's happened here is because it knows that I'm referring to cardiology, because we've pre-specified this, it's linked it to the correct template for that. Already opens up here. So appreciably this is a direct access cardio test. So I'm going to type in here and say, please see and do the needful. And that's actually the document done. We can attach directly from here. So this is all as if it's going through ERS, the letter from cardiology. And this, I know it will sound unbelievable. This is actually what referral speed is like. And that would be the referral done and dusted. And you'll notice that there's a final confirmation screen, which is, would you like to tell the patient they've had this referral done? Because of course, our favorite thing is people asking, where have I been referred? Have I been referred? Who do I contact? So we can send it to their email, we can send it to their text, and that goes off to the patient. So normally for me, that would be a task in a triage session that would either be bounced off to someone else, or I'd leave it till the end because it takes time to do. But actually, that's all done. And you can see that the message has gone back to the patient saying, the referral to the cardiology service at Royal Surrey County Hospital has been made by Dr. Sophie Dunn. She's got better hair than me, but otherwise I think our clinical output's very similar. And then we resolve it. So these 2-3 common scenarios within here that are really problematic in a day-to-day triage. It's not necessarily the complicated things that slow us down. It's actually the straightforward things, just simply because the tech doesn't work. We're going to have a little look at blood tests and similar for Celia Bucker. So another person, so again, I'm not going to bounce back this to the hospital saying that my hospital consultant said they send me a letter about my thyroid blood test and next steps. Can you check if it's in my record? You'll notice again that we can open up the document and it says it's awaiting filing at the moment. So it's not, the great thing is, even when things haven't been processed, you do have visibility directly. I can go directly to the task, open up that letter as a live record now. If I wanted to start coding this, I would just simply put in the codes here. I was feeling very generous, thyroid, whatnot, or similar. But the really cool thing when you're doing all of this is you can actually, as you're at the stage of processing a letter, you can start to do all the normal things that you would do elsewhere. So here I'm going to arrange some investigations, and we can record those within here. So this would normally be linked to ICE, as I say. and that would be a live blood test that we've just requested. So this is in the documents view. So we're not even bumping in and out of the clinical system. And they would like some levothyroxine. Guess what? You can also do that from within the documents view. So they would like some levothyroxine 50, which just comes up, and we're going to add that not as a special order because that would be very expensive, but as, let's be generous, an oral solution. Use once a day, and then set it as a repeat if it's ongoing, the day's supply, the quantity, and this would then go off as in a live system as an EPS prescription. The patient would be notified, the document's been coded, and here we can also, if we wish from here, send a communication directly to the patient, exactly like we would do in the triage platform, and say, I've done the needful, please could you book in for your blood test or similar, here's the booking link. I won't repeat all the steps because we saw them previously. So from a day-to-day point of view, it's actually these things that make a big difference for me. So it's not necessarily that all the complicated submissions from patients that make me feel like I want to end my career as a GP and go and do other stuff. It's these sorts of things. Emma, I think you've had a similar experience as you've transitioned over from EMIS to Accurex.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we love Accurex, and you know they've been white knights at a time of need for general practice. But yeah, coming to Medicus without the need for the API in the middle to make it talk to the EPR has just been, you know, it's a game changer. I use that word too much, but it has been. You know, all our crew as well are feeling the same. It's the tech that we use in our normal day-to-day lives. It just works, and this is just bringing the same principle to our consulting rooms in 2025, where it should be a lot quicker as it is. I think you've done a great job demonstrating it there. That's really good.
Yeah, and just bear in mind as well, that functionality is exactly the same as the live system. The speed is exactly the same as the live system. Someone was visiting the other day and they thought I was faking a referral because they thought it had gone too quickly to be done. But actually, no, that genuinely is the real speed of an ERS referral within here. So the efficiency level of it is very high, and things that would otherwise be gobbling up GP appointments, because it's so easy to do, and the cognitive offloading from that makes this patient-facing triage role so much easier. So I'm going to just pop through another couple of things about common stuff that would normally get me vexed as I was doing triage in other platforms. So this one's a little bit about continuity. So we're going to open up Mrs. Hattie Vigor. So Hattie says that she had 7 weeks of symptoms that they saw the GP over 2 weeks ago, always got phlegm in the back of the throat, and they asked, they prescribed lansoprazole and asked me to book another appointment for 4 weeks. I have an appointment booked for 4th of July, but would like to bring it forwards. So at this point, normally there's quite a lot of, okay, who did what? And you remember slowly waiting for the wheel of doom to reconfigure, open up the EPR, go back painfully through records. But actually, we're going to have a little look back through who last saw this patient. So we haven't entered a dummy consultation for this particular problem, but let's say we look back and we see it's actually Dr. Clarkson. And if we wish to filter that, so actually, you know, if we wanted to just type lansoprazole because that had been prescribed, we can do so, and it would filter out through the journal entries so that you could see that. Obviously, this is just a dummy demo, but let's assume that actually we want to book them in with Dr. Clarkson who for review. So I'm going to demo some of the booking functionality now. So one of the bits that is exceptionally helpful is that the booking functionality is directly tied to the EPR. So there's no lag, there's no refresh. So when you send a booking link, it is what is available immediately. So if you have something that's happening in 45 minutes, it's visible to the patient and they can book directly. They can't double book. So it is checked against other people trying to book that appointment. So it means that a process whereby within the lag from the third-party products, the EPR, we weren't able to send self-book links, particularly for on the day acute problems. We would have to have the reception team phoning them to get them booked in manually. You can actually do that. So if we pick a GP consultation, let's have an emergency on the day, and actually they're desperately keen to see someone today for their reflux. When we add the link, we can send it directly to their phone and let's assume that I really, really, really want this person to see this link, and I've typed my message there as well. You can actually flag it as just free text normal entry, so they don't have a two-factor authentication login. It's very useful for sending things to kids or families of multiple folks with tied to one phone number. And we can also attach things from there if you wish, but actually, once we type the message, that would go off. The person has got immediate visibility of what's on the appointment screen. And actually, if we were feeling, let's say we're a bit old-fashioned today, and I don't want to use technology because technology is the devil. If I wanted to go back to my homepage and appointment book, I've actually got a visibility function here of just filtering out the available slots only for that day. And if I wanted to book Hattie into one of the emergency on the day appointments, 3:30, it's just a simple click. Select the patient, put in the reason, and in a theme that you'll be sensing, they get sent a confirmation of the appointment and with whom and when. So you don't have to have multiple back and forth with someone about when their appointment has been booked or selected otherwise. And again, you can change it from text, you can change it to email, and that would go off. The patient's booked in and they're notified. So there's multiple different ways to skin that particular cat. As a triage GP, having that filter so that we can see what's available on the day. Obviously, as a demo practice, this is remarkably unbooked today. They're doing extremely well for a Tuesday. But it really gives you good visibility. One of the things that's super helpful that you can do, and it's a bit hard to demo with one window, is I was trying to work out what to do with my second screen, because obviously I don't really need it that much anymore. So what you can do is duplicate Medicus easily, so that these are now two live instances running alongside each other. So in fact, actually, this is not one disagreeing with the other. If I update something in this screen here and book an appointment for someone else, so with Dr. Damani at 2:00, just clicking through quickly and go back to my original screen, with a quick refresh, it's already live on that system, and it's not something that we need to go back and forth with disagreements about what's happening. So I realized I had the filter on for available slots, and Hattie is there. Didn't see it initially because I'd forgotten to take the filter on. Apologies. So you do have lots of different ways of doing this. And that real estate that we've gained back by having within the triage flow that dual split screen request here, so that I don't need to have a second window open for documents. I don't need to have a second window open for DPR. I actually end up using this view quite frequently, so I can kind of drive the practice. And pretending I put my best reading glasses on now, I can actually make that a really big eagle eye overview of what's going on in there. So you can get a good idea of what the flow through the surgery is like. You can filter out by all sorts of different modalities. So if you want particular types of appointment, a particular person, or you would like to have the completed appointments hidden, you can do all of that. So that's kind of the day-to-day of easy appointment booking. And I'm sorry, I have made this quite small just for that view, so I'll just enlarge it so everyone's not squinting at their screen. So common questions about what you can do in here. I mean, pretty much every function that you can think of in a normal online platform. So you can send and ask for photos, you can send it by emails.
Configurable, isn't it? The setup's configurable for your way of doing triage. So you can have separate inboxes, you can have the admin support and the secretarial support all set up. So it's really configurable in that way.
So this side here with Teams, you can have that set up as you wish, basically. So the numbers of different people, prescribing inboxes, the sky's the limit, really. But that feature here of just being able to get through everything in a single screen, not going back and forth, the cognitive loading of doing hundreds of these over the course of a month is significantly better. So all of these are really good examples of things that normally need a look in an EPR for something. So this is one where it's about, I've already visited the GP. I'd like to put myself an MRI scan to assess the damage because I've injured myself playing football. You can easily open the journal up, find out who that's been. Even going down to the journal filters, you can filter out by problems. And this is where that clinical coding comes in. So it's extremely easy to find things as it's gone by. If it's not coded in there, the free text search works great. And you can go back, check the validity of that, check it against the clinical record. They've talked about medications that they would like as well. easy enough to see what their live medications are. So just going to make that a little bit smaller. So you can see what their acutes are, repeats. Really nice thing about repeats, and this does come into triage quite frequently for me, is that you have a visible marker of when they're actually getting them. So actually, more often than not, I find people who, my summer favourite was, of course, my blocked nose has got no better, and you realise that they've actually only used their steroid nasal spray for 1 month of the last 3 because it's visually represented here. And then rather than a GP appointment, I'm actually informing them, perhaps you'd like to consider having a little think about using it more regularly. So it's been a whistle-stop tour of various triage functions. I'm just conscious of time and think it might be worth me pausing for breath so Amar can have a chat and also test some questions shortly.
It's a really good demo there. And just to say, this is just the beginning. So I don't know if people have seen our triage box that we did with Accurix, the one-click function. That's going to be coming. This is going to be set up with hotkeys and hooks. So you'll be able to, we do a red, amber, green rating to stratify all the requests that are coming in. So we'll be able to hook up keyboards and be able to triage really, really quickly, especially on a Monday morning, when you're just completely submerged with the requests. It's just going to help deal with the load just by using the available tech that's out there, which we should be using in our consulting rooms anyway. So that's all coming soon. There's loads of AI stuff coming as well, Dave. There are various planned integrations with that. So yeah, this is just the bare minimum, and there's loads of more stuff to come.
Great. I'm just having a look through the questions that are populated in the chat. So Richard asks, can you easily see if you have upcoming appointments for patient when triaging, which is why I was just bringing this screen up. So on the clinical summary, sorry, just changing the size a little bit so it fits. Appointments is listed here. So the clinical summary page is like one of the most helpful things for triage because it's got everything there, what's going on at the moment, who last saw them, observations, when was their last height, weight, BMI, documents that have been filed in the last few months. And on the right-hand side here, and naturally I'll pick someone who's got no appointments upcoming, but that would say, appointment with Dr. Blogs on the 24th of September or similar. And you can also see outstanding clinical tasks. Obviously, as a demo practice, this practice is well behind in its admin. We're really on top of it because we're really used to Medicus now, but you can actually click here and say, oh, right, there's a referral letter that's needed. There's a consultation that's not been finished, and you can see exactly what the state of play for that particular person is. No going back and forth between multiple screens. Super helpful. Sorry.
Question there. Has it crashed for everyone? No, it hasn't. Not once. In fact, what you get with Medicus is there's a whole team of developers working there, and because it's web-based and it's modern architecture, occasionally you get this little message top right of the screen saying refresh for the latest version of Medicus, and you click refresh the browser and you're exactly where you were. No work has been lost, but you're just updated to the latest version of Medicus. So none of those bars, none of those 15 minutes before you log in. It just works. I mean, that's a phrase that we use a lot with Medicus.
Yeah.
So no crashing.
Pain points that you found.
So we had more than you, didn't we? Because we went earlier, and we were actually, I don't think it's a secret. There were quite a lot of people out there who didn't want us to swap or change, and there were lots of obstacles put on our way, but we've just sidestepped them. For instance, the Document Connect sends documents to System 1 and EMIS and other systems via mesh, but it was taking a bit longer than anticipated to get Document Connect to send via mesh to Medicus. Those are the kind of things that we found, but actually all of those have been ironed out slowly but surely. April and Sophie can speak more about the interoperability issues, I think.
I think in terms of pain points, the great move forward has offset any niggles that we've had, basically. And I must say there's a significant difference for me is that as a developer, once they say we're going to do something, it's been done and it's done quickly. And so it's not many places where you're able to get things rolled out within days of asking for feature request. my experience previously has been waiting a couple of years. They've been really great at integrations. So Exxon integrations coming shortly because that's our phone system that we use. Integration with clinical scribes, so tools being integrated into the medical record so that you can use it directly and natively. So it's a really like can-do attitude from the team. And I'm not paid to say this. I'm not paid to say this. But normally what I experience is when we've said developer requests, you get, yep, we'll put it on a roadmap. Thanks very much. But actually, when we said it with this team and made suggestions about things that could be better for patients, they really listen because saying, well, you guys are the experts. If that's what works for you, it's what works. You know, all the things as the first multi-site practice, just looking at one question from George, you know, that was done and dusted for us even before we set up, as having all the integrations with the local acute trusts document system. And I just wouldn't expect that in health tech, even when people are going at pace. But the features that we wanted, we're getting. So there's.
Sorry.
Hi, Dave. I think we seem to have lost you.
Yeah.
We can see you but can't hear you.
Microphone. Yeah. I'll just get on with a few more of these questions.
Right.
Are you back? Batch signing of prescriptions, yes, absolutely. So that works really, really well. The prescribing module's been updated as well more recently. And you know, one of the things that is going to happen soon is you'll have it looking prospectively to see, has this patient had a medication review? And then it will send them out an automatic questionnaire as the medication review date's coming up, so that all the information is there ready for you on a custom screen for you to take all the decisions to make sure that medication is reviewed, is done either remotely or they're brought in for further attention. So you can write, I think that functionality just come out now, hasn't it? The templates, you can do your own templates and communication templates as well. For the old tasks and lab requests in EMIS, we did actually get everything down to zero in EMIS and in Docman. I think that's recommended, isn't it, April?
Yes, yeah, that's right, Amari. Yep.
Yep.
So am I back on audio now by any chance?
You are? Yeah, we can hear you.
Hooray,
Yep, carry on.
hooray.
We can hear you again.
So in terms of the questionnaires and things, so the integrated questionnaire building is shortly there, but yes, you can build your own questionnaires. Medicus are really good about updating them and importing into the system for you, sending templates. The SMS fragments will be down to your local ICB. So however that's charged for. I must say though, we were an extremely heavy SMS using practice and have dramatically reduced that down by about 90% now. So without any problems with patients, to be honest, it was just a small expectation setting before and saying there is this change coming. Just make sure you've got your emails up to date, and actually the transition's been really seamless. And one of the things I really like is not having to worry about fragment length when I'm sending messages. So you can really write chapter and verse when you're replying to people. And of course, that's just more human and gets better engagement from patients at the triage level.
Yeah. And the funding there, as under the 2004 contract, it is written very clearly that you have the choice of provider as long as they're approved by the NHS. And Medicus has come up through the whole specification process and the technology and innovation framework, so it is an approved solution. So it's your right to choose it, and no one can really stop you, but they will try. I mean, no one. We had a lot of battles in that arena, but they're overcome now. The transition went well. I think the people are less nervous about allowing this kind of stuff to go on. And we did it in a weekend. We turned off our old system on a Friday. The transfer of data went through on the Saturday. We did some data checks again on a Sunday and turned Medicus on the Monday morning. So there was no downtime whatsoever. I think that was the first time that's ever been done in the NHS. and that's a turnkey solution now. Is that how it worked at yours, Dave, as well?
Yeah, it was. We had a very smooth switch over. There's really no trouble whatsoever. I'm just looking at some of the questions about referrals and messages, and hence my screen changing slightly there. So this was about a question about external agencies like the district nurses. Actually, no, that's not a stumbling block. So within the service types, this is the referral screen. So within these bits here, so for our local community nursing services, we just have it populated as a pathway here. So they happen to accept emails, it just goes out that way. So the same referral process that you saw me do for cardiology is how we would do that with our locally with our community nursing. And there's a form that is linked to that referral, so you don't have people fishing around trying to find it. Also lovely to put Microsoft Word to the sword and never use it again, because working within the Medicus referral system, you don't get all the crashes every time you open a document. The second question that was related to that was about cross-org booking within PCNs. So yeah, so we've got GP Connect up and running and working happily now. So we're booking our patients into, because we're obviously one of the two practices using Medicus having moved from EMIS. So all our localities are EMIS. So GP Connect enables cross-booking and record viewing within our PCN, which April worked very hard at with me, didn't you? And we got over the line, and that's all fine now. So I think a lot of the things that you might hear from both of us about things that have been difficult, because we're being honest, is because it's the first time anyone had done it. And now that's been done, ICBs around the country is waking up to the idea that there are 3 clinical systems now, not just 2, and there are good reasons for practices wanting to move.
And in fact, for PCNs and neighbourhoods to move as well, because actually, you know, the situation that we had before, and unfortunately still have, is that there are certain EPRs that want a lot of money every year to give you the, you know, the enterprise solution or this another solution, which is actually not fit for purpose either, in our opinion. And you know, this is another way of moving towards neighbourhood health, but having the IT and the data flows to enable that. So it's you know, it's much needed. It's come at a very critical time for the NHS.
Just chime in. Sorry,
third
Emma.
party compulsory pro formas. So all we've done with those is that they've been sent to Medicus, and as you saw with one of the templates that Dave used there, they just make it so that you can fill the forms in via Medicus and send it off via email. So there's not been any issues there.
So I've just got up on the screen now. This is one of those performers. So this is Rapid Access Chest Pain Clinic. So you notice it's not loaded in Word. Hooray! So it means it's actually going to save. And this is all mapped out to the right. So as I start to do things on it, it's populating on the document there. And that's basically how they operate. So they are imported into Medicus for you, and all that mapping is done for you, so you don't have to touch any of that. But I very much don't miss Resource Publisher at all, as the person who was responsible for that.
Is there any feature that EMIS has that Medicus can't do yet?
Oh yeah, so EMIS has built-in brakes as it stops. So if you need your tea breaks, no, it doesn't do that.
Can you stop other services writing into GP records, e.g. community nurses using System 1 locally, and fill our records with useless data? Is that possible, April?
So it is. So with the GP Connect, so when messages are coming back, so there's one of the things, like I think with pharmacies as well, you know, the update record with GP Connect, how they can like automatically write back. There is an option that we can put in place to not allow it to automatically write back on some of those. So I know that's a bit of a challenge, but I think as well using GP Connect, if you were currently using System 1 or your district nurses are, for example, and you're using Medicus, then those, I guess, updating records will flow back into Medicus as kind of a PDF content that you can view. So they're not necessarily integrated fully into your record, so you can have a separate view.
Yeah. NHS 111 can book directly. Asking a question there about use of Ardens. We actually use something called Primary Care IT, built by Dustin Saint. and that's brilliant. So that integrates fully with this, and there are also inbuilt templates as well from Medicus, and they are increasing all the time.
I've just got up on the screen there. So the idea really is that you avoid having all these extra add-on services, but this is the long-term conditions register. It's just about to get refreshed, but even so, this is asthma. So got all the patients on a very small asthma register for this practice. But essentially with all of the bits that you normally have to get through third party done in system. So has the review been done? Have they got a plan, number of exacerbations, etc.? And of course, all the communication can happen internally as well. So you can bulk send invites, questionnaires, and similar directly from within the EPR. So it's not a third-party export.
And that's going to be working towards full automation of recall, isn't it?
Yeah. So the next rollout, which is weeks away, is this essentially providing some functionality where the EPR will understands what condition is, what the medication is, what the monitoring for that is, and essentially loops through that process because it's all living within the EPR, so you can access all that data. So it's the things that you can do with having it all in one place that you just can't do with third party. So Darren, a good question. Now, all of the doctors are universally happy with the change of system. I've never met anyone who's universally happy with any change of system. So I'd be delighted to say that everyone somersaulted around and said this is the best thing ever on day one. It's not really what happens in practice, and it's not really the functionality. This is slightly different. There are different ways of doing things. You've got to bear in mind, like for my practice, it was more than 10 years of muscle memory with one particular clinical system. So it's a huge change. I think managing the change process is important, and actually explaining to people why you're doing this. And the trouble is, people are very good at living in the status quo and don't understand the reasons why something might be better. And I'm afraid, as much as we can demo this, a lot of this is experiential. So until you've actually tried it in clinic and gone, oh yeah, it all works. It takes me minutes to do something that took me 30 minutes before. You can see it, but actually feeling it is really important.
Yeah, I concur with Dave. We were much earlier on, so there were a few more hurdles to cross. But actually, change management is really important. The team's on side, and we're just pushing it out, and everyone's so much happier now. We don't get those circles of doom and the crashes. So that on its own for me is I know it's a small thing to ask for, but for us that's made a huge difference.
Just picking up a couple of things. I know there's minutes to go, but templates, yep. So I've just loaded up a template here. So again, lots and lots and lots of templates, all sorts of different things with the relevant coding in, because we know that some people like templates. That's fine. So that's not really a big issue. There is a demo version, so this is what we're on. This is the staging site. So if you contact the team directly, I'm sure we'll be happy to let you have a look, play around. And if lots of perhaps join Mother Surfer Doomcom. Well, we're fair, actually, Jim, normally we can answer this to quite nerdy GPs, but because the architecture is different, and the scalability is different. I won't bore you with all how that works, but essentially, no, that's unless April and Sophie are about to say no, it's all going to go crash in. No, good. Then it's just a scalable web application. So it's not quite the way that things run with eMissing System 1. So you don't have those constraints. And even when we've been hammering it, it's been super, super quick.
Just looking at the people who are watching, there's royalty in there. There's some big up people there, Dave, who will watch it. I'm impressed. Integrate the CQRS. Yes.
Yes, it does. So it's actually the data on this is like super lovely. So reporting data returns, just sorry, isn't the nodiest bit, but you've got all your FP34 claims, CQRS, GPAD's built in here. So I have to say, one of the things, if anyone has a look on Twitter, I'll put my tagging there in the chat. But sorry, X isn't it these days? But it's really allowed you to extract a huge amount of data, and actually because you've got GP appointment data within there, you can actually work out exactly what you do. And we were massively underestimating our workload, and the rebalancing of that afterwards has been super, super helpful. And again, you just can't do it normally because you don't have all of these things being recorded. So you're people were saying you can't be doing that many consultations, but of course it's counting the things that we're supposed to be counting. So all the messages to patients that go missing, all of those ad hoc consultations that we all do and we don't realise. So actually, in terms of the viability of general practice going forwards, there's a really good reason to do it for that reason too, because we are now adequately demonstrating our actual workload, which is probably, I think, even though I was counting it quite rigorously, 50% underestimating, I'll guess, compared to what we're actually doing, because we can now see it. Been super helpful.
Okay.
And the final one, I think nearly there, is, does it support messaging? Yes, it does. And I think Tim has said he's even going to let me have emojis soon, so I'm really happy.
Great.
Good.
Think we're just about reaching 1 p.m. then. So just want to give a huge thanks to Dr. Amar and Dr. Dave for presenting today. Really, really useful demo, and really useful to see some very realistic scenarios that you see day to day in your inbox. So many thanks for that, and thanks everyone for joining. We've got a recording of this demo, and we've also can share some materials and information on Medicus and how to contact us as well. I think April shared the info@medicus.health medicus.health email in the chat as well. So if you need to get in contact with us, you can do so through there. So thanks everyone, and I'm gonna finish the call now. So thank you very much. Bye.
See you.